Imagine this. You're on CNN, one of the biggest news networks in the world, trying to do your job. But instead of being taken seriously, you become a laughingstock. The anchors mock you, your accent, your very presence. It's a humiliating, career-ending moment. Or is it? This is the incredible true story of a Filipino woman who was publicly ridiculed on live television, only to have the last laugh, becoming one of the most beloved and powerful figures at the very network that tried to tear her down. This story begins with Patricia Evangelista, a young, brilliant debater from the Philippines. In 2005, she was just a teenager, but her mind was sharper than most seasoned politicians. She and her team had just won the World University's Debating Championship, a massive achievement. Naturally, this caught the attention of international media, including CNN. The network invited Patricia and her debate partner for a live interview on their show, On the Story. What should have been a moment of triumph, a celebration of her intellect and hard work, quickly turned into a nightmare. The interview was hosted by two CNN anchors, Carol Costello and Miles O'Brien. From the very beginning, the tone was off. Instead of congratulating the young champions, the anchors seemed more interested in making them the butt of a joke. The segment was titled, "Did They Even Know What They Were Talking About?" Right away, the framing was dismissive, almost hostile. The anchors played a short, out-of-context clip from the final debate round. The topic was whether the world was becoming a more dangerous place. Patricia, arguing for the affirmative, delivered a passionate, rapid-fire speech, a common style in competitive debate. But the anchors didn't see skill or strategy. They saw something to ridicule. Miles O'Brien started by sarcastically saying, "I have no idea what they're talking about, but they're very passionate." Carol Costello chimed in, laughing, "That's right. Who cares what they're saying? They're very passionate." They proceeded to mock Patricia's accent and her rapid speaking style. They did a poor imitation, giggling and making exaggerated gestures. O'Brien even joked that it sounded like they were ordering at a fast food restaurant. They completely ignored the substance of her arguments, the intelligence it took to win a world championship, and instead focused on superficial, culturally insensitive critiques. For Patricia, watching this unfold live, it must have been a crushing experience. She was there to represent her country, to celebrate a victory, and she was being treated like a clown for their amusement. The backlash was immediate and fierce. Viewers, especially from the Filipino community and the global debate circuit, were outraged. How could a prestigious news network be so unprofessional, so xenophobic? The CNN message boards and email inboxes were flooded with complaints. People were furious that the anchors chose to punch down, mocking a teenager for her accent and her passion, rather than engaging with her intellect. They weren't just making fun of Patricia. They were making fun of anyone who speaks with an accent, anyone who doesn't fit the mold of a polished Western news personality. The anchors had misjudged their audience badly. They thought they were just having a bit of light-hearted fun, but what they did was expose a deep-seated prejudice. The viewers saw it for what it was, a cheap, ugly shot. CNN was forced to respond. The pressure was immense. Initially, the network tried to downplay the incident, but the public wasn't having it. The outrage grew louder. Finally, on a subsequent broadcast, Carol Costello and Miles O'Brien were forced to issue a public apology. It was a rare and humbling moment for the network. They admitted they had been insensitive and rude. O'Brien acknowledged, "Many of you, particularly in the Philippines, were very upset with our comments, and you had every right to be." They read excerpts from viewer emails, letters that defended Patricia and condemned their behavior. One viewer wrote, "It is a shame that you chose to highlight not the substance of the debate, but the manner in which it was delivered. The apology was a victory for the viewers who spoke up. They had held a media giant accountable, but this is where the story takes a turn from being just about public outrage to being about personal triumph. For Patricia Evangelista, this incident could have been a defining negative moment. It could have made her retreat to shy away from the public eye. Instead, it fueled her. She didn't let the mockery define her. She had already proven she was a world champion debater. Now, she was about to prove she was a world-class journalist. She channeled the experience not into bitterness, but into a stronger resolve to tell stories that matter, to give voice to the voiceless. Patricia's career trajectory after the CNN incident is nothing short of meteoric. She became an investigative journalist, a documentary filmmaker, and a writer. She didn't just report the news, she dived into the heart of Gajang difficult, dangerous, and emotionally taxing stories in the Philippines. She covered the brutal war on drugs, embedding herself in communities torn apart by violence. She documented the aftermath of devastating typhoons, telling the human stories behind the headlines. Her work was raw, unflinching, and deeply empathetic. She wasn't just a reporter. She was a witness. She used her powerful voice, the same voice that was once mocked, to speak truth to power. Her reporting earned her numerous accolades, both locally and internationally. She won awards for her investigative pieces, her documentaries, and her writing. People weren't talking about her accent anymore. They were talking about her courage, her integrity, and the sheer power of her journalism. She was no longer a passionate debater they couldn't understand. She was one of the most respected and fearless journalists of her generation. And here's the most incredible part of the story. Guess where Patricia Evangelista ended up working? CNN. Yes, the very same network where she was once ridiculed. It wasn't a short-term gig or a one-off special. Patricia became a producer and correspondent for CNN Philippines and contributed to CNN International. The network that once belittled her now platformed her. They now relied on her expertise, her voice, and her unique perspective to cover some of the most important stories coming out of the region. It's the ultimate reversal of fortune. The anchors who mocked her are just a footnote in her story, while she became an indispensable asset to their network. Imagine the poetic justice. The young woman who was told, in essence, that her voice didn't belong on online airwaves was now shaping the narrative on those very airwaves. She didn't change her voice. She didn't soften her accent. She didn't become less passionate. She proved that her voice, exactly as it was not only worthy of being heard, but was essential. She turned what was meant to be a moment of humiliation into a source of strength. She showed everyone that substance will always, always triumph over superficial mockery. Her journey is a powerful lesson. It's a story about resilience, about the power of public opinion to demand accountability, and about the beautiful irony of a talent so undeniable that even those who once dismissed it are forced to recognize and embrace it. Patricia Evangelista's story is a masterclass in turning prejudice into a platform. She didn't just get an apology, she got a contract. She didn't just get revenge, she got respect. She didn't just have the last laugh, she is still speaking, louder and more clearly than ever. And now, the whole world is listening. Her book, Some People Need Killing, which details her years covering the drug war, became an international bestseller and was even named one of the New York Times 10 Best Books of 2023. The debater who was once mocked for speaking too fast is now celebrated for her precise, powerful, and unforgettable prose. She became the very thing the anchors couldn't see, a world-class communicator whose voice now shapes how the world understands her country. So the next time someone tries to dim your light or mock your voice, Remember the story of Patricia Evangelista. Remember that the voices that try to bring you down are often just the background noise to your own rising anthem. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as inspiring as I did, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories of incredible triumphs. See you next time.